I sure will. Let me share my screen so you can see the presentation that I have, just a couple of slides. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for the opportunity to present in front of everyone. I'm super excited, and there's a lot of people on. So my business is XR Studios. The Z really is actually a very simple explanation. When I was researching domains, basically for the website, XR Studios with an S was taken. So I really wanted the XR Studios and ended up going with the Z. So that's all. I'm actually going to start, if people wouldn't mind for just a second, to turn on their camera and or their audio, because I wanted to ask a couple of questions as opposed to just jumping in and describing the business. And it would be great if I could see people and get some feedback. So the first thing I wanted to ask was if anyone has a VR headset.
No.
No.
Okay, and I'm not.
I do. Yeah. I had one. I gave it to my little, because I'm a big brother. So.
Okay, awesome. So I'm not surprised. VR is still really in its infancy. Does anyone know what VR is?
Virtual
Yeah.
reality. And my son does have a headset, which he spent a lot of money in his first job to acquire.
Nice. So yeah, so VR is virtual reality. And I'm assuming if I say, okay, great, what is that? Does anyone have a sense for what it actually is?
Yeah, it's a simulation of a real 3D environment, but you do it visually through technology.
That's exactly right. So basically, it's just a computer-generated 3D simulation. And I started my presentation by asking about who's familiar with VR, if anyone has a VR headset, so that I could understand who's familiar with VR locally, right here in the Lehigh Valley, since this is the community that my business is in. And also so that you could understand one of my challenges, which is how to market a business that people haven't heard of, they don't understand, or are possibly hesitant about using it because it's such a new technology, right? So in addition, while the definition of VR is actually pretty simple, it's actually pretty difficult to explain it in a way that really gives someone the sense for how fun and powerful it is. So the best way that I found so far really is to use video. Video helps me show people using the tech and having a great time. And so that's why my homepage features this. Basically, let me just run this real quick. So you can see here, one of the ways that I try and get people into the business is by offering a first session free. People love free as a marketing tool. I also want to talk about being COVID compliant, right? So basically on my website, I talk about all the things that we do to remain COVID compliant. And, you know, we have partition stations in private rooms. I'd actually love everyone's thoughts about whether this leaves a favorable impression on you, that video. If it makes you want to try VR, you don't have to maybe say it now, but if you would like to make any comments, I have my email address at the end of the presentation. And, you know, I need a wow factor for the business, right? I need for my website and social media to catch people's eyes in a way that print hasn't managed to do yet. One of the other ways I'm trying to attract people to the business is using descriptive and familiar words and services that people do recognize, with basically a nod to VR in there. Oops. So what exactly is XR Studios? This is how I describe my business, right? Discover what's possible with virtual reality. It's incredibly fun, and I always have new experiences that I can offer. We offer gaming, laser tag, escape rooms, esports, parties, STEM for kids, and corporate team building. I sort of use these experiences that people already know and love or have a need for, and using the first sentence to introduce VR sort of into the mix, right? This also gives me the ability to market different products and services under the umbrella of VR, which really is what the business is about. So VR is a platform. And you'll notice that the business is actually called XR Studios. So why is it called XR Studios if I'm promoting VR? Well, XR actually stands for extended reality, and it is a mix of virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality technology. So that is an umbrella term that covers all of those products and services. And eventually, as part of the business, as some of those other technologies mature, I'll be offering them as part of the services and experiences that I've got at the studio. For right now, I'm focusing on VR. A little quick side note on what AR is. So AR is augmented reality. And if you've ever seen movies or TVs, basically where there's like a computer screen in front of people and they're able to reach out and manipulate it, like Tom Cruise in Minority Report, he was able to pull up the screens and slide everything across. That actually is augmented reality. And those experiences are in development and probably will mature and become more available to consumers next year, I think, with the advent of some of the things that Apple in particular is doing. But again, using XR as a longer term business plan gives me the ability to blend in and add in all of those extra products and services from the other technologies as they become available. So why VR? My career has been working with companies like Verizon and Palm and Microsoft, and I've always been a geek, right? And so when I saw VR for the first time, I was just blown away. And I really, truly believe VR is like the internet. I think that it's going to revolutionize many facets of our world, not just with gaming, but across consumer and enterprise markets. And eventually, my longer term plan is to sell to both consumers and enterprise. But for now, I'm focusing on consumers. And besides the marketing challenge, I have a few other challenges that I wanted to bring to the table. I don't think anyone would be surprised that a lot of my challenges revolve around COVID. So I did my business plan for this business back towards the end of 2019, and I signed my lease in February of 2020. And it was March of 2020, basically, where COVID really, hit the fan. And so it's been very challenging in general to deal with COVID. I'm operating at a reduced capacity. I'm working with experiences and products and services that people aren't familiar with. The targets that I want for the consumer gaming and birthday parties and esports, high schools and college students. Well, guess what, right? They've been going to school remote. So it's been really tough to find any marketing opportunities on campuses to promote my business. Corporations who are interested in doing team building for offsites, right? Before COVID hit, that was fairly common. Businesses were always looking for something new and unusual in team building exercises. Well, most employees are working remote right now. And I would say in the last maybe month, I have started to get more people in the door, but I've had 2 inquiries from businesses, haven't had a chance to actually bring them in the studio. I'm hoping as we've gotten the vaccine out there and things are trying to return back to normal, whatever that is, that it will become easier to sort of make those connections. But in general, I think people, consumers are still just a little nervous about indoor activities. So even though I have, rigorous protocols for cleaning and COVID, even though I can offer partition spaces and 6 foot apart, social distancing and masks, it still is something that I think in general, people are hesitant at this point in time to come into. So what I don't want to do, right, is throw a lot of money at print advertising in general right now, if it's really not going to bring me in value, right? I mean, I've done sales and marketing in my previous career, and typically what you do is you track your marketing activities, right? So you spend, and then you sort of see what the results that you get are. So in November and December, I actually did do print advertising. And to be honest, it really fell very flat. Now, again, that was probably at the height of COVID. It was around the holidays, which I thought actually might be something that people would be interested to come out and do something new for the holidays. But I got shut down in December as part of basically being in, falling under an entertainment venue. And I then reopened towards the end of February. So those are my main challenges. I think some of that will naturally dissipate, but that's going to take probably a few more months. And I still am working with the technology that big businesses like Facebook and Apple and HTC, right, are making these VR headsets, and they're out there and they're trying to promote and evangelize the technology. So I think the combination of less COVID, people are really going to be ready to get out and do something fun, unique, entertaining, relaxing, and basically all the other efforts as just companies advertise and awareness in the market raises in general will make promoting my business a little bit easier. But the partnerships that I want are on hold. And so my challenge is, how do I stay in business while COVID still is the biggest impact? In the future, like I said, my target markets today are gamers, family entertainment, tech enthusiasts, early adopters, esports leagues, and corporate team building. Down the road, I'll extend my services to non-gaming applications for consumers, technology partnerships with universities and schools, and specific vertical markets that will show immediate benefits from VR and AR training. So it's a powerful platform. It's something that allows me to deliver unique experiences. These are experiences, though, that are difficult to describe in a sentence so that people will have that wow factor and say, wow, that sounds amazing. I want to go try that. The video is my primary marketing application. I do that heavily on social and on my website. And I, continue as COVID sort of lessons to continue to plan to get out and get on college campuses, right? Get in front of some of the clubs that are out there. Try and do mobile offsite so I can actually offer a service where I bring the headset to a business as long as they've got space, and have people use the headsets at the business. And that, I feel, might offset some of the concern about maybe coming into a place with COVID that's unfamiliar. So I'll pause there and see if there's any thoughts, questions, feedback.
Okay, thank you, Amy. It's a new topic for me at least, and for maybe for some others. But I see some questions popping into the chat. Let me just couch the entire business in one or two with one or two questions. How long have you had it? Since February 2020, you said, right? So
I opened in August of 2020, and then got shut down in December and sort of did a reopen towards the end of February of 21.
Yeah, so you've had sorry, I might have lost you in there. So you've had really 3 or 4 months of some activity, some promotion, etc. Let's go down some of the questions, and I'm sure they'll trigger others to. So the question from Rita Guthrie is, where are you located?
I'm located on Broadhead Road in Bethlehem. If you know where the Wegmans is on 512 and St. Luke's North. So I'm right in that location right there.
Okay. So it's quite central to the valley, I would say.
And that's one of the reasons why I chose that location.
Rita continues, is there a way for you to create a short marketing video that shows what someone might view during a session?
There is, and there's actually a new technology that's called mixed reality video, which allows me, once I get it set up, basically to use a green screen to do just that, to show someone in a video game or a video, VR experience.
Yeah, such a video might help someone who's not familiar with the technology, but it's definitely something that you can use to promote your sessions. Rita also asked, can this be done outdoors? Like we played laser tag or paintball or something. Can this be played outdoors or at a festival or at a college campus, school campus?
It can definitely be, so I can definitely take headsets to a campus, to a business. For outdoors, it has to be actually done in lower light. It can't be done in direct sunlight because that has a detrimental effect on some of the lenses but yes, and I actually have the ability at this location to use sort of the outdoor space. And one of the things that I would like to do as the weather gets a little bit nicer is to do, sort of a 6 o'clock happy hour outside VR. And that way people passing on the street can see it and I can also promote it. And maybe being outside has less of that fear factor with COVID associated with it.
Yeah, COVID's always going to be kind of hanging over over us for a while. But let me ask or share with the audience, what kind of customer feedback have you received in the last 3 or 4 months? Some positives, some objections, their reaction to spending an hour or two at your facility?
It's all positive. I have some repeat customers, and I am always taking videos of people as they're experiencing VR and then posting that on my social so that you can see. I mean, people have a blast. Really, it has been overwhelmingly positive. I have had no negative feedback. Sometimes people, even if they come in the door, they're a little afraid that VR might give them motion sickness or, make them uncomfortable. I haven't had that happen. We do have protocols in place in case that does happen, but people put on that headset and they'll be laughing and joking and moving around, and probably 50% of the time they ask to extend their time. So I know that it is something that, consumers are enjoying.
Okay. Question from Lisa. What kind of games are you offering?
I mean, we've got a huge variety of games and experiences. So I do list a lot of games on my website with some videos so people can see, you know, what that game is. But in general, they fall into a couple different categories. We offer shooter type games, people who play, you know, Xbox or computer gaming. If you've heard of Call of Duty or Apex Legends, or there's VR games that basically mimic those and really put you inside of the game. We also offer what I call gamer size, which is VR games that are designed for working out. And so I think that's going to be another huge field. I work out in VR every day. There's rhythm games, you know, there's basically specific games to get you moving, engaged, and forgetting that you're sweating. So there's gamer size. There's kids games, right? So kid appropriate, age appropriate. They are very fun. Things like Angry Birds, Fruit Ninja. Those are very safe experiences for kids, easy to use the controllers. And there's also 360 videos, so that if someone wanted to come in, for example, maybe someone that is less mobile, you can do seated VR experiences. They can watch movies, they can take a trip to outer space, they can dive undersea. So there's a huge variety of games and experiences that I offer. And I also offer unique experiences that you can't get either if you have a VR headset at home, or the other few VR arcades that are in the Lehigh Valley. I offer what's called free roam experiences, where you're not tethered to a computer. You're able to move around in the game, and that just adds an extra dimension, you know, to how much fun that it is.
Okay, so there's something for everyone in there in those games. Just as a follow-up question to this gaming option, is it possible for VR to be remotely played? Play these games to overcome the anxiety of COVID? Can you rent sets that people can then play at home, or is that something that's really tied to your physical location and the servers and everything else?
So while I would love to do that, unfortunately, from a commercial licensing perspective, I cannot rent out headsets. The headset manufacturers don't allow that at this time, just due to concerns about knocking into, you know, people knocking into things when you have the headset on, that sort of thing. What I can do is, if someone has a VR headset at home, they can join one of my esports leagues, and then they can play remotely as part of an XR Studios team. And that brings a little bit of, you know, value from XR Studios to them. They're part of a team. They get to join tournaments. They can, you know, they can do that from home.
Okay, so that's a possibility, but you have to overcome the rental limitations. Okay. As a point of information, Al Guerra, who is on our screen here, says there is an interesting Zoom call at noon today that has a VR aspect to it. Contact me if you'd like an invite. Okay, and his email is in the chat function, so you can see him. On a similar note, I understand that Zoom is going to launch what's called an immersive view, where you can have up to 25 people with a common setting, so it feels like you are in the same conference room or meeting room. So we could take all 25 of us and put us in a room as if we were really there. So that's part of virtual reality. I don't understand the technology, but this is what's coming down the pike.
There are lots of business type of applications coming in VR. One of the things that, you know, Zoom does well, rather than just a conference call, is you can see each other face to face. When you layer, or when you do conferencing in VR, you add the element of presence, right? So you have a virtual avatar in VR, and you are able to interact with other people's avatars. They are becoming more mature in terms of trying to customize that avatar to make it look like you, so that it's sort of even more an emotional connection inside the headset experience. And those things are, the next 6 to 12 months, we will be seeing lots of business, connection, communication applications using VR.
Yeah, I guess Star Trek's coming to us. Stacy, is your question answered? Stacy Rowan says, not being familiar with the technology, is there a way to create a corporate event that allows the team members to participate remotely by renting headsets? Again, I guess.
So if I can jump in,
yeah.
I'll just say, so what I was thinking is you have all these businesses that have gone remote and, haven't been with, with their team members. And if they're looking for team building, but maybe they're not like quite to the point of being back together, is there some way to leverage that? It's like, oh, we've been apart, we want to be together, having a similar VR or XR experience, kind of what we were just talking about Zoom and what you were just talking about with that is like, can you put them in the same place in virtual reality, even though they're still in real reality? I don't know how you say that. In their own homes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that over the next, 6 to 12 months, again, that the headset manufacturers will open up that avenue where I can rent out. At this time, I can't. Like I said, I can go and do mobile events, but that's still asking companies to be, in a corporate environment together. I would love it if there was interest in that. I'm just not sure if the businesses are there yet.
Okay. Hector asks, have you reached out to real estate people? Your technology would be very interesting for home tours, virtual tours. I guess they already exist, but maybe something that you can tap into that market.
Yes, there are a couple of companies today that offer you the ability to basically do video tours, either commercial or residential. It involves shooting with a 360 camera, which I actually have, and then someone can go in the headset and it's literally like you're walking through the house. And so it's on my radar. I haven't spent a lot of time, to be honest, looking at it, but it's definitely something I think that is going to explode over the next, 12 months.
Great, another opportunity. Mary Kelly asks, is there an outdoor location or an opportunity near your space? People seem to be more open to small gatherings in that manner.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You broke up a little bit.
Is there an outdoor opportunity or a location near your place where people could meet that would have less objections, I guess, regarding COVID at least?
Yeah, so I can go outside the premises here, and that is definitely in the plans to hold those outdoor type events. As just a little worried about weather right now, but definitely, it's probably starting next month.
Okay, great. Raja asks, what is your pricing structure?
Now, I am super competitive with the other VR arcades in the Valley and just in general. So for 60 minutes of gaming, it is $15. That is per headset. For 30 minutes, it's $10. If you come in for an escape room in VR, it is $20. And our free roam experiences, which are really premium experiences, are $25 for an hour.
You mentioned other studios. How many other similar businesses are there within a 25-mile radius?
So right here, we've got at the Palmer Mall and Lehigh Valley Mall, we've got the VR Cafe. I would say that they basically offer individual gaming stations. They don't have the full breadth of services that I've got, and they don't have free roam experiences. So I do have a little bit of a differentiator, and my pricing is better than what they're offering right now. There is also VR arcade outside of Quakertown. And as far as I know, that's all that's sort of local within that radius.
Oh, you might be the forerunner of this business, or amongst.
Girish, can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Yeah, sure.
So, Amy, your pricing right now is based on somebody coming and being in your facility and using the headset, right?
Correct.
Do you have a pricing structure for taking your service outside of your facility? So let's say, for example, if I want to host something at Northampton, I'm not interested to come to your location, but I said that, I've got 10 students and we want to, create an experience, for these 10 students. Do you also have pricing that kind of like addresses that?
I do. It's a little bit more customized, just depending on how far I have to travel, how many headsets, how much time is involved. But excuse me, basically it works out. A sort of a traditional model that I would offer would be about $25 per headset for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. In answer to your advertising and marketing challenges, Debbie Rice has a suggestion. Are you running digital ads? And are you using searchable hashtags that people would find your page? Debbie's been searching for a new escape room location for clients and gamer friends who hate visiting the mall with kids. So maybe that's an opportunity for you to connect with Debbie and see how you can help her gamer friends. But I assume the studios with a Z helps you in your search function. You are separate from all the others that show up as an S,
Yes, I do digital advertising. Actually, the platform that's worked the best for me so far is Instagram. I run on Facebook, Instagram, and Google. And I definitely do use hashtags, the same hashtags, and then try and throw in a few new ones occasionally to get outside sort of the audience that I've already captured. I'm trying to build up my audiences on social. I've got 600 plus on Facebook and I think 800 on Instagram right now. And I definitely know that, college students, high school, they are not Facebook. That is apparently now our generation of digital that we use. And they all use Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. So TikTok, I just started using, and then I see Debbie's got her hand up.
So I'm still Googling you and I'm not finding you. But most importantly is the moms that are taking their kids for VR are on Facebook. So just keep that in mind. The kids are going to find you on Insta, but the moms are going to find you on Facebook. So don't give up on Facebook. But I'm still not finding you. So just heads up that I'm typing in Bethlehem and escape room and you're not in the list. So I'm not offering to fix. I'm just stating that I look for it. I'm not finding you. So always Google yourself and start searching for yourself, because I'm not on your own computer because the technology knows you, but so that you're found.
Okay. I do work with an agency that has created my website and manages my SEO. So I will definitely go back to them. And you're right. I frequently check myself out in search listings, but using, studio computers. So it's much more likely, obviously, that it just shows up because they know it's me.
Okay. Kim from the Fulton Bank and Dave Myers, an HR professional, have a similar question. So I'll put those two together. Can you share how this would work as a team building exercise? What games, programs would you use? And is this more geared to a younger demographics? Any thoughts on that?
Sure. So what we recommend for team building for corporations is number one, an escape room. And an escape room, I have about 12 different escape rooms. they range across the board from, 13 plus to 18 plus to a couple of experiences that are very easy to use and aren't so difficult. So they're popular with, women my age and even older. But we definitely recommend the team building because they're designed, the escape room, because they are designed so that you have to work together. I also have a free roam laser tag that you can do either in a free for all or teams. And so that is another experience that's just incredible because it's free roam, but also it's just a ton of fun for teams. So you can have 3v3 in that experience. And then we also have arena type games. So these tend to be things like teams in shooting out in outer space or, robots, zombies, that type of thing. It's the coopetition, what I call it, right? I think that a lot of team building, when you do teams, you're pitting them against each other. So while that can be fun, I'm not sure how much actual team building it brings. And I've done a ton of team building exercises throughout my career. That's why I recommend more of those co-opetition, I call them, where you have to either work together or work on teams to accomplish a goal.
Yeah, I think team building, a lot to be said about the way things are done. Mary Kelly has a suggestion. Have you considered a club card or a loyalty card for frequent users of your service to help them come in again and often?
I do have a referral program. It's QR code based. And so thinking about it while you're asking the question, that's, QR code is probably a technology that college students, high school students, millennials are familiar with, maybe not so much for the moms of kids. And so maybe having more of like a physical card type of program might be a little bit better.
Jeff Scheck has a question. What are some of the examples of esports that you offer? And is that what you were trying to show us in the video where the kids were reaching out into the air in front of them?
So that actually is an experience called the Blue, where you're underwater and you can interact with fish and big whales and that sort of thing, which is hugely popular. For esports, there are specific games. So esports there's college level esports teams for console and PC gaming right now, and it's becoming actually a fairly large thing, I guess you would call it. And in VR, there's the sort of equivalent games. So there's specific games that are built for esports, Overkill, Contractors, Pavlov. We do Echo VR, which is sort of like an outer space Frisbee type experience. And it's really about, not the game. It's about the teams. It's about team building. It's about bringing, the kids together and helping them form, healthy social circles. And so I do try and focus a little bit on that. And I really haven't launched my esports league per se yet. But any sort of feedback, that you've got on that would be incredibly helpful as well. So the idea just being that they would come in basically once or twice a week to the studio to practice and then do tournaments. And those tournaments are available right now with prizes, basically all over the world. And so I would just need to tap into, the specific tournament that we wanted to join.
Okay.
Girish,
Jeff,
could I ask a follow-up question, please?
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
Amy, you had mentioned that you do some fitness programs with that. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to maybe partner with a fitness club to offer their members maybe once a week or something like that, an opportunity to do that type of program, just for the club to diversify what they offer. Now you can bring your headsets in and let them sample that. You can get, maybe some more exposure that way as well.
I love it. I think it's a great idea. There are a couple of, I guess, boutique fitness facilities actually within a couple, basically a mile of the building. So it might make sense to start with them. And actually one of the women brought her children in and, has done VR a few times. So might be an easy connection to sort of have that conversation with her.
Along the same lines, I think, Mike Lichtenberger, you had a question. Maybe you can unmute yourself and ask directly.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. So just to put things in context, sorry, Rita, I'm a director at USA Hockey in the coaching education program, and we're using a program called IntelliGym, which is two-dimensional. It's like a game of Pong, if you will. So it's built around brain skills, anticipation and awareness, finding open space and positioning, and working memory for decision making. So I'm a basketball player at the top of the key. What do I do? What do I see? It's very player specific and function specific type of brain power training. Being a hockey guy, do I shoot? Do I pass? Who's around me? What do I see? We're seeing a lot of imagery and mental imagery in sports training, where you'll see a professional athlete come out to the player bench pre-warm-up and visualize doing something on the playing field. But if they had the VR device, then they could see a game situation. What would they do in those situations? Because the game turns over so quick. Have you thought about reaching out to some of the sports organizations for mental training and brain skills training?
I have thought about it briefly. I'm glad that you're sort of talking a little bit more about it. I did actually start out the business trying to promote the fitness and gamercise aspect of it a little bit more. I invested in some technologies that aren't necessarily virtual reality, but more of like an augmented reality, Blaze Pods, which are little discs that light up in synchronization. And so if you've got a sports team, you can set them to go tap, hit, touch those Blaze Pods in a certain order. That is something that can also be used in aging populations for brain training. I haven't done a lot with that right now, but I would love to explore it. And if anyone, maybe I'll touch base with you again and just pick your brain a little bit more on it.
I'll put my contact info in the chat. Thank you.
Awesome.
We have time for one or two more questions. I'll open it up so it's direct from the person asking. Hector, you want to go first, and then Stacy. Hector?
Yes, hi, thank you. So just a question for you in terms of how you envision this business as market potential. And you already talked about the local competition. I've seen 2 of those locations. So I just was, interested in kind of seeing where, the experts are saying the market potential is for this, because I'm not familiar with this potential.
Yeah, so the predictions, right, from the experts for VR and AR, both in consumer and enterprise, are astronomical, to be honest. I mean, they're forecasting billions and billions of dollars in revenue being spent on hardware, games, experiences, applications. And so I think it's a huge market. I really would like my business to be the model to introduce those technologies to consumers and enterprises and potentially franchise it, right? I mean, that is sort of the dream. If I can sort of make it through COVID, continue to prove out some of the models that maybe some of the other VR cafes or arcade type VR places don't have. And then I think this is sort of the first step of building that awareness and trying to focus, because as a platform, VR offers, STEM lessons for kids, right? So there's companies right now that have developed classrooms and all sorts of experiences in VR. You can do a cadaver lab in VR right now, right? And basically you put on the headset and you have a body in front of you, so that it is an immersive, interactive, hands-on type of experience. And there's studies that prove that organizations that use that have a tremendous cost benefit. The same thing with training for logistics and manufacturing, right? So safety training, fire and police training, you're able to create simulations in VR and AR that you can't train for in the real world, active shooter, you know, all sorts of different things. So yeah, that's sort of the vision. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes,
All right,
thank
we have one more question from Stacy. We'll take
Yeah.
her question.
More of a kind of, from my perspective, input for you is that, you know, before today coming in, I had really had maybe a vague idea of what VR is. So I think for you, like focusing on education, you know, and telling people, you know, why would they want to do this, particularly if they've, you know, been spending a lot of time like on the computer and on screens. Like normally in my free time, I would rather be off, you know, off the screen. So like putting a screen right in front of my eyes is like not exactly the direction I'm going. But hearing you talk about all of the opportunities and all the different things is like, okay, there's a lot more to this than I realize. So educating the general population who like just really have no idea about it, I think is going to be powerful for you. So if you can, you know, find creative ways to do that within your social media platforms, within your website, you know, opportunities like this.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah, I do get a lot of, I had no idea that you could do that, right? And so I'll need to look at basically how I can do a better job of doing that. I do think it involves getting out, visiting places, trying to find opportunities on, you know, college campuses and that sort of thing, as well as other small business ability to get out and get in front of them.
Yeah, there's several outlets for this kind of activity, and perhaps if you can narrow it down to the top 4 or 5 that you can concentrate and then go after those in a kind of a phased manner. That brings us to the close of our session. I think if people have more questions or follow-up questions, they can contact Amy directly. Her information is in the chat. The recording will be sent out to all the participants later today or tomorrow.